We can start now.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for making our time to join us for this webinar. It's been long coming. And I'm glad to be your host for this webinar, where we will be discussing how to avoid major pitfalls in driving digital transformation. Before I introduce my guests, I think it's important I give you a snippet of what you should be expecting in this webinar. Um, One, we will be starting with an introduction of the guests, the guest speaker for today, and myself, and as well the company that is bringing you this webinar. And then that's from there, we'll go to the concepts. Want to look at the conceptual definition of some of the terms when we are talking about digital transformation, digitization, digitalization, how all of these concepts work together, and what is the benefit to most organizations, basically. And then from there, we will listen to our guest speaker on the major pitfalls and how to avoid them, and what a successful process automation or process transformation look like, so that when we are driving any digital transformation at all, particularly the process transformation aspect of it, what are the things that we need to be looking at to be able to determine the success factor of that process. So all of these are what we will be sharing with you today in about an hour and a half thereabouts. So let me quickly introduce our guest to you first, then I'll go to myself and the team that are behind the scene making this happen. I have with us here today my friend and a brother, Fikayo Adepoju, fondly called FK. He's a solution architect and a technical instructor with LinkedIn. He has over 14 years of experience building scalable applications. He currently spends most of his time right now teaching and helping a lot of young application enthusiasts to build scalable system and also to make the system secured and give them also the technical support in terms of building sustainable system. Fikayo is the face behind the Dev Talk that is fondly listened to by my team. We often go to that platform. It's an online streaming program that we listen to every week to get latest information on applications, digital transformation, and some technical, some information regarding technologies in Nigeria and the diaspora. So he has been doing this for over a year now, and it's my pleasure to welcome a friend and a brother here to drive this program. A bit of background about Fikayo as well. Our relationship has gone way back since 2012, 2013. I think that was when we worked on our first project together. It was an e-commerce platform, and it was a very interesting experience for both of us then, because we were very young in the industry then. We had barely 3 or 4 years experience then. So it was an huge application that we had to work on then. I think at some point we had to even be sleeping, about 4 or 5 of us have to be sleeping on one bed to be able to spin up that system. It was quite an experience for me, and that was when I got to know Fikayo work ethics, how Fikayo take his job, and how he can go any length to watch out for his team. So it's my pleasure to welcome Fikayo. Please unmute and say 1 or 2 things to our guest before we proceed.
Thank you very much. It's been a beautiful relationship from the very first listing. I remember the first time I got a call from Mr. Salami, and this person just called me from my house, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure I'll be able to come today. And he was like, I'm going to send a car to your house to bring you. And I'm like, hey, these guys are serious. I don't worry, I'll bring myself. it's been a wonderful experience in them. Mr. Larry is an amazing person when it comes to managing people, and I'm always excited to work with him. So I'm bringing that excitement to this talk too.
Okay, thank you, FK. So I must also say that Fikayo and I have worked on as many failed projects as the one that have been successful. It's just so you are hoping to see someone who have been blazing in driving digital transformation or churning out projects, successful project out there. No, you are going to be seeing someone with a lot of experience of failed projects and as much as a lot of experience in successful projects. And there is no other person that can tell you about what to avoid when you are deploying or going through a path as someone that has gone through that path and has failed or stumbled on potholes. So I would just thought to put that out there so that you would be hearing from here empirical experience that both of us have gone through on this path. My name is Lanre Yusuf. I'm the project manager and the MD of Tech Specialist Consulting Limited. Our Tech Specialist Consulting Limited, we drive digital transformation projects and support systems for organization, from their infrastructure to process automation and transformation, to cybersecurity, and also training users on how to adopt and adapt any new system into their environment to be able to achieve efficiency in their process, whether be it meeting customers' needs, achieving the operational efficiency, or to just perhaps improve internal processes. So that's what we do at Tech Specialists, and I have been running the state of affairs here for almost 4 years here. I spent almost all my career here at Tech Specialists here. I joined the company sometimes in 2011, and it's been a wonderful experience. I have over 12 years experience in project management, in helping organizations to drive processes with technology and helping them to achieve a culture of digital innovation in the organization. So those are the experiences that we're looking to bring on board to you today. I have with me my team behind the scenes to support us here and also give you some empirical examples of what they have experienced as well, if we have the time, because we may not be able to take all your questions, but I'm sure they as well have one or two experiences that they may be willing to share with us here. But I would like to introduce behind the scene Damilola Adebayo, who is our coordinator for this program. She will be driving the session behind the scene. And Olushola, who is our technical lead, also supporting us as well. All right, so let's delve into it. Before we go into the major talks or crux of this conversation, I thought to quickly introduce you again to some of these concepts. A lot of us have heard about digitization, and digital transformation. Not until recently, myself, I often use this word interchangeably. I just thought it's a matter of semantics. So sometimes when I want to refer to digitalization, I call it digitization, or I'm talking about digital transformation, I just use digitalization, so long as you can understand what I'm saying. But I thought to be able to put some conceptual understanding to each of them so we can understand what it means. So I'll start with digitization, which is the foundation of driving any innovation or that require technology. So digitization is basically converting a manual or analog information into digital formats. Basically, you have been perhaps in your organization, you receive dispatch, you receive email through dispatch riders. So they bring physical mail to your office. You have to treat it, and when you need to respond to the correspondence, you also use this dispatch rider to deliver it to the organization that you're delivering it to, or the recipient. So you decided to acquire an email platform to be able to, push this information out there without necessarily doing it manually. What you have done is you have digitized that particular process of, communicating with your clients. Or it could be you dealing with some documents physically in your office, and you decide to have electronic version of those documents. That's basically what digitization is. So digitization is more of you converting manual documents or manual information to electronic. While digitalization is the process of changing your business model, to an electronic or a digital model through technology. So imagine the document you've scanned. You need to be able to make a request, maybe from finance, to request for from reimbursement or process your payment or something. So that process, perhaps before now, used to do it manually. So you fill a form, you take the form to finance, or you take the form to wherever you need to make that request, and they will sign the form. Then you take it from one office to the other until you get to the bank, or you get to where they need to pay you, and it takes maybe some time for you to get the payment get to your account. So with digitalization, this process can now be done through the system. So the document you scan, you can upload it onto a platform, as with a click of a button, it gets to the person who needs to act on it, and the person treats it, and you get your payment within minutes. So activities or processes that you do for days can now be streamlined into something that you do for an hour or a minute. So that's digitalization. The difference between the two is that while one just converts physical information to manual, the second drive the process for you from the conversion of the document to you sending the document to the person that needs to treat it. The person treats it, you get notification that it has been done, and then the final result gets to you in a very short period of time. So that's the difference between the two. So these two together is what makes digital transformation. So when you have done these two, what you have done is that you have achieved what we call digital transformation, which is you have leveraged on technology to build a system that have changed your business model or your processes for you to be able to do things that you do faster, for you to be able to achieve more efficiency, and for you to make either employees or people that are recipients of those services to be satisfied and get better experience. So that's what the conceptual framework, the conceptual meaning of the two concepts means. So I must also say here that before I leave this slide, I must say that digital transformation is not really a destination, as a lot of people think. You believe that once you have done digitization and digitalization, you have reached an El Dorado. You can say, yes, my organization is there, but it's actually a journey. So it's something that you finish one layer, you look at other gaps that you can fill, you optimize the process, you move on to the next, and so on and so forth. So it's a journey, so it's not a destination. So I just thought to put that out there. So before we also proceed, I still want to be able to give you some types of digital transformation so that we can also understand this when it happens in our organization. So there is process transformation, and I think that's the most critical of digital transformation. That's the one that you see happen in a lot of organizations. So some call it process automation. So when you are automating your process, there is likely a transformation that would happen. So the end result of that transformation is what we call process transformation. And what it means is eliminating manual process within your offices or within your organization or some tasks, to make your employee focus on more strategic and value-added activities. So when you are looking at your HR processes and you're seeing that a lot of manual processes are involved, whether in the onboarding of staff, in the appraisal of staff, in the managing staff information, all of those things are manual, and it takes a lot of time to get you information as senior management. So you want a situation whereby those information can get to you with the snap of a finger. So you want to be able to use, automate some of those processes. So when you have automated those processes, what you would achieve is process transformation. So it gives your employee more efficiency in their work. It gives them more time to be able to do other productive activities. So that's process automation. So let's go to the next one. Business model transformation happens when you have used technology to transform or reshape your business. So the example that comes to mind here is the Netflix. Netflix started as a DVD rental store. you know, so it's a brick and mortar store where people go to and rent discs. And they looked at their model and they decided to go on online video streaming, content streaming, where people can, you know, do the same thing but via, you know, technology. So with the use of that technology, they've now been able to improve their processes. They've been able to improve their businesses. They've been able to even generate more income. So that completely changed their business model from the brick and mortar to an online platform. The same thing with the likes of the e-commerce business, you know, where you're doing your business in the shop and you decide to upload all your information, I mean, your goods online to make people access it and it get delivered to them at their doorstep. So what you have done is you've changed your business model from the brick and mortar to an online. So that's when that happened. What has happened is business model transformation. So domain transformation is similar to business model transformation, but what's the difference between the two is that domain is more of you extending your business. So you are doing some kind of business before, say for instance, I'll use Apple for instance. Apple started as a computer selling organization from way back in the 90s. So that's what they've been doing so for a while. So after sometimes in 2007 or so, they decided to go into the smartphone business, and they are the one of the best you can think about when you're looking at smartphone business. So this is more of changing their business, but more like expanding it. It's not really changing it totally, but expanding it to maybe say, okay, if we are doing this before, let's try this aspect of the business and see how we can make the business more. So that's more of domain transformation. So, and lastly is the organization transformation. This is where digital transformation has changed the culture of your organization. Say, for instance, most of the things you do in your organization, you do them manually. So with organization, with the introduction of technology, that has now changed to where a situation where everything you have to do have to be mostly through technology and innovation. So when this happens, you have what we call organization transformation. And this transformation is seen by people out there. That's where you hear a lot of people talk about some organization. They'll say, when you send them a petition or when you send them a query, they respond to you with the speed of light. I like that organization. I like what they are doing in that place. What they have done is they have used technology to achieve organization transformation. So it's very important to just quickly give you this concept so that you understand all of this concept before we go into the main crux of today's conversation, which is going to be on process transformation. Remember, I said process transformation helps you to streamline your operations, your businesses, allow employees to focus on more strategic value-added activities. It eliminates manual and time-consuming tasks. It enables you to be able to be more agile and competitive. And that's what happens mostly in a lot of organizations that adopt digital transformation. However, this process automation don't just come easy like that. There are lots of pitfalls, there are lots of challenges because it involves not just the technology aspect of it, it also involves the people aspect of it. And when we are looking at technology and innovation in any enterprise or any organization, we look at two things, the adaptability and the adoption. So it is in the light of this, I will be introducing my guest speaker, Mr. Fikayo Adepoju, to take it from here to give us some of the pitfalls that a lot of organizations go through when they are embarking on process automation to achieve process transformation, and be able to advise us how we can avoid this pitfall when we are deploying or when we are constituting a team to build any process automation project in our organization. Over to you, FK.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Mr. Larry. It's always good when the terms are already defined so that we can all be on the same page. Can you see my slide? Can everyone see my slide? Is my slide visible?
Yes, we can see it. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You might want to put it on slide mode so that it can be.
I'm trying to. I'm using this. Okay. Is it better?
Great. Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So let me see how I can do this because my monitor is not, it will just fill the whole screen and I will not be able to see my notes. So, sorry. What can, okay. Let me just, what can you see? You can still see my slide, right?
Yes, we can see your slide. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see how we can manage that. Just, okay. So my slide is okay. It's good. Okay, yeah. I think I've been able to find a way to see my notes now. Okay, so yeah. Like I said, thank you for ironing out all the terminologies so that we can all be on the same page. Quick run through about me. Like Mr. Larry said, we've been working together for over a decade now, or over a decade. I started my whole IT journey 2010. Started developing softwares, and as I graduated, I went into private practice, helped a bunch of people build automations into their businesses. One of them was a very big ride-hailing company in Abuja then. The man was trying to transform from just having cars at the airport to having something like Bolt or Uber. And we did all this as like we did all this before Bolt and Uber came. Like we did all this before Bolt and Uber came. And I think it kind of got this signal that these guys were coming into the country and they didn't want to be left out. So we did a lot of work there. We built apps, we built a lot of management systems and all that. So that was one instance where I was fully involved in someone going from a totally manual process to an automated process. Then I had like a 2-year stint in tech specialist where I was the guy that was always interested in emerging technologies, and then got to lead the software team, built some startups and that. And later on, I worked for an infrastructure company. So helped me learn a lot about scalability, performance, and stuff. It's one Canadian company that worked for them for quite a while. Then I moved into a cybersecurity company in Washington. And yeah, I got to learn a lot about cybersecurity there, which I loved. So that's just, some people want to know why you are here. So I just want to put those out. Those are my small credentials. And I've always loved content. So now I do content full time. And I joined LinkedIn as an instructor 4 years ago. And since then, I've been pushing 1 or 2 courses out. Now they are more serious. They are more serious with me, or rather, I'm more serious with them since I have full time for content now. And I'm even hoping that next year they want me to come to their studio, because normally you're supposed to even record from their studio. So I really hope to be there. I've always, I don't know whether people know lynda.com. Tech Specialist even used to have like a lynda.com subscription. Back then, it was a very big this thing, and I've always loved to teach there. Like far back as 2011, I've always loved to teach there because I was learning most of my tech stuff from there. And LinkedIn bought it. It became LinkedIn Learning, and it's just like a proud moment for me to actually be one of the people instructing on that platform for the past 4 years now. And it's a swell thing for me to be able to go there next year. So yeah, so that's all background about me. Let's get into what we have today. Process automation. And we're going to start with the pitfalls. We're going to start with looking at pitfalls of process automation. And the very first one we're going to be looking at is poor planning. Poor planning. Me and Mr. Larry and I have had several talks, arguments, on this particular stage. On this particular stage. Now, I would like to be kind of let's say geographically agnostic with my talk. That means not kind of, I'll just just tell you the theory of what we have today, but I cannot ignore my country, Nigeria. I cannot ignore my country, Nigeria. I cannot ignore what we do wrong, because that's where most of us are operating right now, and is what is our reality. So I'm going to be using a lot of context, a lot of Nigerian context in what I'm trying to talk about, because that's also where I have had the most experience with the pitfalls. That's where I've had the most experience with the pitfalls. Not that there's no pitfalls with maybe some companies abroad and everything. They are not perfect themselves, but Nigeria as I've seen the bulk of pitfalls here in Nigeria, even with projects that I have undertaken, I have seen those kind of I've had those experience. And like I said, the very first one is poor planning. Poor planning. And I'll break that down. I'll break that down into some subheadings. Poor planning and scoping. Poor planning and scoping. Now, what is scoping? Scoping is defining the boundaries of the project. Defining the boundaries of the project. You cannot have everything. It's not possible. Or let's say you cannot have everything right now. So every project has to be scoped. You have to define the boundaries, meaning what are we doing? What are we not doing? In fact, sometimes most importantly, what are we not doing? Because what are we doing can be vague. What are we doing can be vague. Someone can say, pick my child from school. You say, pick my child from school. Mr. Larry tells somebody, hey, make sure you pick my child from school. And the person treks to that school, takes Mr. Larry's children, and treks back home. And his children come home, their legs are all wobbled and looking dirty. And Mr. Larry was like, why? There are 2 cars in this house. Why did you have to go and trek? Why did you trek to the school and trek back with my children? And guy was like, you didn't tell me to take a car. You didn't tell me to go with a car. That is an example of not defining a scope properly. What should be done? How should it be done? Or to what extent should it be done? Now, an extreme case of that is Mr. Larry tells the guy, pick my child from school. And the guy goes to one of these car hires one Land Cruiser for like 200K a day, and goes to pick Mr. Larry's children from school and rakes up a bill. Maybe those ones are charging like 200K. Let's say they're charging like 150K per hour. And he spends like 2 or 3 hours bringing them back. And he says, Mr. Larry, your children are back. I even branched KFC to buy them this and that. And here's a bill of 450K for my services. So there are 2 extreme ends of it. Underscoped, under-delivered, over-delivered. And all these things happen when you don't properly plan the scope. And it's not even to the extent of delivery. Most of it is to make sure that you're managing expectations of the client. So clear objectives. Being able to clear objectives for the project. What are we trying to achieve with the project? And one thing that I want us to realize as we're going forward in this talk is that when you're trying to help someone automate a process, if you are a contractor, like where tech specialists mostly find themselves, or even if you are the client yourself, one thing you have to note is that the client is more interested in the impact of the digitization process than the technology. The client is more interested in the impact. When they say they want to set up an email server, they are concerned about communication, not what you want to deploy, not the kind of technology you want to deploy, not whether you want to use Google, not whether you want to use, what's the name of this Microsoft email server? I've forgotten the name that you deploy for enterprise. So Larry, please remind me, what's the name of this Microsoft? Exchange. Yeah, I know that it's X, but I know that it's definitely not Excel. So Exchange, they don't care about Exchange server. They don't care whether you're trying to use a Linux version of it. They don't care. What they care about is instantaneous communication. That's what they care about. When they tell you that they want to digitize their document, what they care about is the fact that they can recall any document at any time. They care about the fact that they don't lose documents, because physical documents are prone to damage, they are prone to a loss, and all those. That is what they are concerned about. So that's what you have to understand anytime you're trying to work with a client on a particular project. The client does not give a damn about the technology that you are bringing. So the objective of the project have to be properly defined. The KPIs of that project have to be defined, because the KPIs are going to determine what the user assessment test or user acceptance test of it is going to be. So what are the key performance indicators of this project that are going to determine the success of this project? So let's take an example. You set up this email server. Oh yeah, they brought all these machines, and you know, you know how Nigerian, especially all these ministries and everything, they don't want your technology. They don't want all your panty like Nigeria. This thing, they don't want all your this thing. So you set up all this stuff. You say you set up network and everything, and somebody sends an email to another person in another office, and the email takes 3 minutes to get there. Someone in the next office, the email takes 3 minutes. For some reason, you people's servers or whatever networking this thing you did there, the email takes 3 minutes to get to the person. Have you done the project? Yes, you have done the project. But does it give does it is it performing? Is it giving the impact it's supposed to give? No, because I can easily stand up within that same 3 minutes. I'm going to give that message to the person in the next office. So there has to be KPIs that would determine, is this thing a success? Yeah, this thing has been done, but is it creating the impact that we expect? So that's one thing. It's important for you to you define clear objectives, and you also define the KPIs for the success of the automation. Define the KPIs for the success of the automation. I'm trying to run through because we don't have much time. I have a lot of notes here, so let me just keep going. And I heard that there's going to be a time for questions. Now, another thing is scope creep. Scope creep is also one other problem you're going to face when you don't properly plan or scope your project. And trust me, especially in the Nigerian space, people scope creep a lot. Clients scope creep a lot, and we don't respect contracts. Clients don't respect contracts. They don't respect documents. It's been black and white. They will tear it. They will tell you they are the ones paying. They would hold you ransom with a particular balance or whatever. And at the end, that's why at the end of the day, most projects they're not completed. Most projects are not completed. In fact, a lot of us, when we're going to a particular project, we're expecting to just push it up to 70% because we know, and you leave a balance with the client that you know if they don't pay this balance, that is we're good and everything. Because as clients, and I believe that some people in this call are clients, you have to respect the scope of the project. You cannot have everything. This is not a wishing well. You cannot have everything. Some of the things that you desire is limited by the technology on ground. Some of the things that you desire are limited, but if there was a time there was no 100 GB per second Ethernet connection. There was nothing like that. There was no big distance when we were in school. They didn't have that. So if you wanted that type of speed, you can't get it because the technology is not yet available. The technology was not yet available. I remember like ago, one of my clients actually wanted me to put AI in his application. Wanted me to put AI in his application. And we're just going back. And honestly, I just avoided that. I just avoided because I know that I cannot pay for the kind of for the kind of thing he was asking about, because he wanted voice prompts and more like a Siri inside his application. And I know how much you can pay. I know you cannot pay for all this kind of. So I just talked my way out of. I don't want Wala. I just talked my way out of the whole implementation. But the funny thing is that now in this whole AI trend period that we have, with models like Gemini, Claude, and GPT coming up, it's more realistic. It's more realistic. I dropped a Gemini course for LinkedIn last week, and the course was all about the Gemini 1.5, Gemini 1.5 Pro. This model took in a 44 minutes video. I'm not talking about the demo I watched. I'm talking about something I did. It took in a 44 minutes video, and it summarized that video, a whole movie, a Charlie Chaplin movie. It summarized that 44 minutes movie in 120 seconds into 5 paragraphs. It suggests it didn't have context of the movie before. It took the video file, and within 120 seconds, it was able to process the entire video file and give me the summary. So sometimes the technology for what you have, for what you want, is not available, and that's why there has to be a proper definition of scope, so that even when the client is asking for something, the contractor, the executor, or whatever consultant that has come in can say, yeah, this is nice, but it is not yet possible. This is nice, but it's not yet available, so that client expectations can be well managed. So on the side of the contractor, he or she, they have to make sure that they properly define the boundaries of the project, and the technological limitations have to be clear to the client. The client also needs to accept. The client needs to accept that document. When that document is signed, it's more like a law that has gone into effect. Else, a lot of projects will continue to fail. A lot of projects will continue to fail. I remember my dad was there's this new NTA. I don't know how many of us know the NTA headquarters in Abuja here. My dad was involved in like the phase 2. There was first phase 1. And I think that phase 1, they budgeted 900 million. Way back. It was long ago, very long ago. I think one of these military governments said, or whatever. It was way long ago. They budgeted like 900 million. By the time my dad came in, they were in phase 2. And it's not phase 2 like maybe they couldn't complete it in that phase 1 because of all these kind of issues. So government abandoned it, contractor abandoned it. Then they came back to phase 2. As at phase 2, it had become, I think, 4 billion or something. It had the cost. And in the phase 1, they had already built some things on ground. Though. They had already built things on ground. And the whole thing was supposed to be like 900 million there. By the time they entered phase 2, to complete it was 4 billion. And it was around that time, they went back and forth, they hit another roadblock again. And right now, that they are trying, because I was there recently on one of their live shows where I went to talk, I think it's around 20-something billion that the current people that are building it are trying to use to complete the project. If they had properly defined things back then, if they had respected the boundaries of the project, they will have used 900 million to complete it way back in the 90s. So those are the kind of problems you can have when the contractor does not properly manage the client expectations and the client does not accept and respect the scope of the project. The last thing under poor planning is timelines. Realistic timelines. Giving realistic timelines. And it is sad because contractors want to get projects. And clients are basically not trying to understand you. They want someone that will perform miracle. So, and if you are saying, they will tell you saying English too much. Yeah, once you start breaking things down, once you start analyzing and everything, they will just say you're saying too much English. And one guy will just say, you are saying 4 weeks, give me 7 days. And they will just they will just give the person that says 7 days. And most of those projects will end up failing. Most of those projects will end up failing because you can't say because you need 9 months to give birth to a baby. You can't optimize it by saying, okay, what if we get 9 women? Can it take 1 month? It cannot work that way. No. Some things will take as long as they take. Some things will take as long as they will take. If you are doing the decking of a house, there is a particular time, once you finish the decking, there's a particular period of time you have to leave it for it to get its strength. It has to be wetted, it has to dry up and become strong. You have to wait. You have to wait. You can't use mathematics to optimize the project. Setting realistic timelines. I'll give you a small personal something I'm even experiencing right now. One of my friends wants to build, has been given the go-ahead by a particular state government. I'm not going to mention the state government because once I mention the state government, you can go and trace it. But it's a particular state government to build something for the health sector. Because they want to take advantage of the opportunity, they have to provide an MVP within 3 weeks. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And if they can't, they will give the opportunity to someone else. Now we're trying to perform miracle because he has called me, to go and call the Avengers, to go and set up a team of Avengers to make sure that thing happens in the next 3 weeks. But I know that I didn't want to disappoint him. I just told him, bring a blank check. If you give me a blank check, I have people I can speak to, and it's only money that can turn their head. If I tell them, if I give them a deal that they cannot refuse, yeah. Yeah, they can drop everything they're doing and do night vigil on your project, and we can get something out. But it's not an ideal situation. It's not an ideal situation. But a lot of times that's where we find ourselves. So the second pitfall is insufficient stakeholder engagement. Insufficient stakeholder engagement to achieve buy-in. Now, this one can be a bit complicated, because how do you get stakeholder buy-in and enough stakeholder engagement if the stakeholders are not interested in your solution? How do you? That's a lot of situations that we find in Nigeria. You want to deploy a particular solution to optimize their process, but the manual process is already giving a lot of people avenues to, let's say, be corrupt, to do some backdoor stuff, or they're just creature of habits and they're already used to doing things a certain way. Some of them have become champions in that organization because they are able to undo certain things that you now say you want to come and automate. You want to come and automate and take power from my hand. Procurement. If I don't sign that thing, nobody can pass through. Now you want to bring your fancy solution that would just automate the whole process and move it to the next phase automatically. How do you get stakeholder buy-in when the stakeholders are not interested in what you're bringing in? Because the stakeholders are the ones that are going to be able to determine if the project is a success or a failure. And sometimes when you're going into an environment, before you even see the stakeholders, they have already marked your project as a failure because they don't want it. So all you're going to do a dance. You're going to do a whole dance for 3 months where they will just be pushing you from left to right, and at the end of the day, you will be their fall guy. Those people don't know what they are doing. They didn't see this, they didn't meet me, they didn't give me this information, and trust me, nobody throws you under the bus like those guys. Like, they will fling you, the boss will run over you so much, they will win a stuffed animal. They would, the head probably is interested in all those things. Yeah, the head wants to do the top authorities, your guys at the top, they want to see all those optimization, they want to see the process go. But you see the foot soldiers, the foot soldiers, they don't want your solution. So that is a peculiar case that we find in the country. My point is, yeah, definitely you need stakeholder buy-in. In fact, for every project you're trying to do, there has to be someone called a product champion in that organization. There has to be a product champion in that organization, someone that you can easily reach and can give you information you need, can set up meetings with any stakeholder that you need to have meeting with. Someone in that organization. I remember when Mr. Larry and I were working on Anand project and listening, there was a guy there called Farouk. We could reach him anytime. We could send him a message on WhatsApp. He was there for us. Their IT head too, it was always there for us. Those guys will help us set up any meeting we want to set up. Because we cannot call the madam, that woman that I don't even think we really liked us there. We can call her, we can easily set meetings and stuff like that. But through those guys, we can meet with important stakeholders and we can get information as fast as possible. They were able to break down all their processes for us and everything, even though we know that once their organs talk like this, those guys will throw us under the bus. They will throw us under to save their work. We understand. So, but you have to make sure that you get stakeholder buy-in. You have another thing is that you have to set up a good communication pipeline with the stakeholders. So you have to define what should be sent as an email. You have to define what should be the reports to be presented, when it should be presented, the type of information that you will need, the time that you need it, and all those type of thing. And at the end of the day, you also have to provide training and support, because that is another thing that kills projects. You deploy this fancy application, nobody in the company knows how to use it. Define this one, that one. And once they don't use it, they will consider it a failure. In fact, it's making work difficult. In fact, you see what they did with the voters. What's that? That's the INEC was using to verify proof for voting the other time. Hey, want it to be automated. Verify every voter. Verify this thing. At the end of the day, they still transported things manually. They did the whole dance and everything. Some people ate money on the project. Some people got money on that project, but they did not use it. Transmitting results became a problem. There's no light. Power bank. This one, that one. These ones misplaced their devices a day before. In fact, some registration started, and they were taking several hours to register 100 people. And even the people have to say, you know what, just use the manual process. Don't just use the manual process, please. Let us do fast. They are the ones. So you have to make sure that those people are well trained and you provide support for them. You provide support because once they click one or two buttons and everything is looking like Rubik's Cube, they are going to just push your this thing aside and start following their manual ineffective processes. So moving on. Another thing is inadequate budgeting and resource allocation. You see, I whenever I see any project, and the first thing I hear is from the client, they've not, I don't know what they did. I don't know what they'll just say, okay, we're allocating 200 million to this project. How? Like, I don't understand. What did you break down? What did you analyze? I say, I don't know. We want to build this thing, and it's only 200 million that we have. Or what we have, our budget is 200 million. Did you hire a consultant to break down the project for you so that you can know that, okay, yeah, if we're going to hire this company, this is what they will collect. If we need to host the application, this is what we will need to buy devices, this is what we'll spend. Like, you guys just allocated something and just pushed it. So there's a lot of cost estimation issues that goes into projects. I will still say the person executing the project will most likely still be the one to fully take charge of this, fully take ownership of this, because even if they give you a certain amount of money, even if the money looks wonderful and everything, you have to be able to break things down, to be able to know that, and if your budget is going to be above that, you have to let the client know this thing is not going to be possible, and this is why. This is the whole breakdown of why. But like I said, the contractors too, sometimes they are compromised. They just want to get the job. They just want to get the contract. So they start looking for cheap means. They start looking for this thing, this one, that. It can really be a messed up show, especially in the Nigerian space. So cost estimation, you have to make sure that you are accurately estimating the cost. You're accurately, if it's not possible, it's not possible. Somebody said that Lamborghini is not going to check your bank account before they attach a price to their product. They will not. If you can afford it, you afford it. If you cannot afford it, go your way. If a project costs a certain amount, that is what will be required to execute it. If you have to hire developers and those developers, you have to pay them 1 million every month. If you say you want to work within the budget and you go and hire developers that will collect 250K, you think you will be getting the same quality? No. You will not get the same quality. You form your team, you will do this, but you will not get the same quality. And it's going to definitely reflect in the output of the whole automation process. That's where money transactions will be getting missing. That's when documents will not be showing very, very well. That's when you realize that some features are not scalable. Oh, when 10 people were using it, it was working fine. The minute 100 people started using it like this, bing, everything caught fire. Because you went cheap. So proper resource planning, and also automation doesn't really end. Like Mr. Larry said, it's an ongoing process. So you would always need to accommodate money for things like support. You know that there are going to be updates. There's going to be updates from time to time, because the first iteration of a product or an automation solution is not the final thing. There has to be feedback. People will get to use it and give their feedback. And oh yeah, maybe we don't need this. Maybe we don't need that. Oh, we thought this was important, but we realized that when it comes to the real life application of this solution, this is actually where we need to focus more of our resources on. So you start making changes to make sure that you align to the impact that you want to create. So now let us look at some technical challenges that make a lot of automation processes to crash, because automation is beautiful. You want to speed up the process, you want to make everything automated, you want to collect payments. Who doesn't want to? Imagine ShopRite. Imagine a store like ShopRite. Imagine that they have to be collecting cash at the payment point, and everybody, you have to be counting, all their cashiers have to be counting cash, and they have to be keeping cash under the table. Oh my, the kind of stealing that will have occurred there, the amount of accounts that will be out of shape, it will be great. But because they can have POS systems that are automatically sending the transactions to an accounting software, they can sit in one place and see how all their money is coming in. They can see the money that is coming in from the Wuse branch, from the Jabi branch, from the Lugbe branch. They can see from different states, and automation is beautiful. But when not done properly, it can become a real messed up show. So one of the technical challenges is overlooking quality assurance. Most of the time, quality, the testing the application is left to the people that executed the application. That does not make any sense, because you cannot be the one marking your own exam script. You can't be the one marking your own exam script. So if you are going to automate a process and you have contracted it out, someone else has to come in, an expert has to come in to make sure that, yes, all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed, and that it is doing what it's supposed to do without any errors. You have to make sure that you have that oversight. Another thing is the quality of data that you are feeding into the process. See, if you have a beautiful system, but you feed the wrong data inside, it's going to be garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in, garbage out. We're in the business of information technology. Look at everything tech is doing. It's all about information. Everything that tech is doing is all about what? Information. We're collecting information, we're transforming information, we're transporting information, we're delivering information. Whether you're delivering it in a pie chart, in a bar graph, as a table of records, in an email, all we're doing is processing information. And it makes information the bedrock of whatever we're doing. So if low quality information is fed into a very wonderful system, it would deplete the integrity of that system. So another thing is quality information. If you are creating an accounting software, you have to feed in the right information. If you are creating a software to manage the national population census, you have to feed in the right information to get the right results from that application. The application cannot work on is AI. That's one issue with AI too right now. As beautiful as AI is, as much as it's giving us this artificial intelligence, if you feed it garbage, it's going to tell you garbage. You feed it, like I have a video coming out next week. It's called The A in AI. The A in AI. And what that video is all about is that as users, we are already carried away with the iPad, the intelligence. Oh yeah, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this, you can do that. We're not remembering the A part of AI, meaning which stands for artificial. This intelligence is artificial. It is not original intelligence. So if you feed it garbage, it will output garbage to you. And so with every other systems that we are deploying today, if you feed it the wrong information, if you feed an accounting software with wrong data, with corrupt data, with bloated information, you are going to get garbage out of it. So that is for overlooking quality assurance, data quality, integration and system support. I've already talked about system support. You always have to have support. In Nigeria, we feel that once an automation is deployed, it's plug and play. Once you deploy it, just on it. You know, the same way you put on your TV, the same way you put on your fridge, and you just let it run. We feel that, okay, yeah, this automation process has been deployed, whether it's something that is to automate internal processes or something that is going to use automation to deliver your services. You just feel that, yeah, I just need to, once you deploy it, just press play and it should keep working. No, there has to be supervision and there has to be support. People have to continue watching that system to make sure that it is always delivering its value. Because as much as technology can be autonomous, as much as technology runs unmanned, every technical thing still has a percentage efficiency. Every technical thing still has a percentage efficiency, meaning that there's a percentage of times where things will not work as expected. And sometimes is the system, sometimes it's the fault of the people using the system. And there has to be support structures to make sure that all those cases are mitigated as soon as possible. Lastly, on the technical side, ignoring security and compliance. Ignoring security and compliance. One problem that we have is that we are reactive when it comes to security. Especially in this part of in this climate, we are reactive, not proactive about security. Until something happens. Oh yeah, oh, so we need this. Oh, okay, yes, put in the, oh, we need that. Security has to be planned alongside everything you're doing, because every technological system can have a workaround. Even Windows will continue to release updates. Windows is going to release updates. A lot of times, what they're doing is security patches. Because there are some guys sitting down with the operating system. There are some guys sitting down with that Windows operating system. They are reading the whole manual. They are reading the whole terms and conditions. They are reading everything. What are they looking for? They're looking for loopholes. They're looking for loopholes. For a very long time, there was a particular loophole in the Windows operating system where if someone gets to successfully install an application on your system, they can put on your webcam anytime they want. They can put on your webcam anytime they want. There was also a vulnerability where someone can see everything you're doing on your screen. Security there's an article I wrote on command and control systems. How command and control systems work is this. So someone realizes that tech specialist is doing something that they have interest in and they want to break into tech specialist. So they send somebody. That person sees, let's say, Dami that is coordinating this work. They see Dami outside. Dami, how far are you? You're going to work? Okay, please, this flash. I have my term paper on this flash. I just want you to help me review it. And she'll be like, oh, no problem. Probably a friend or somebody, they will use someone you know. It's social engineering, so they will not just badger at you. I said, Dami, one of my younger sister, she wants you to help her check her term paper on this thing that you studied in university. I said, no problem. So she takes that flash to work. She slots it into her system and clicks the document. The first time the document just blinks. It just blinks like nothing happened. She was like, what's this? Okay, let me click it again. She clicks it again, then the document opens. The funny thing is that very first action that she performed has triggered an installation file and has installed something in the system. But nobody saw anything. The system she's using is the company system, and it is also hooked to the company network. So what does that little application, what does this start to do? It starts to copy all the files on Dami's system and send it over a network. What it first does is that once it lands on Dami's system, it's going to send something called a heartbeat signal to the people outside. That's the people that are controlling the whole stuff. It's going to send a heartbeat signal that I'm here and I'm live. I'm in Dami's system now and I'm alive. So Dami's system has automatically become a zombie system. They say I'm alive, and they will now issue command to it. They will issue command to it. Okay, get files on this system and just be transferring it. So it will just be taking for every day Dami is coming to work and putting on our system. That is going to be converting all the files to binaries and sending it over the wire to their command and control system. And it will just be dumping the files on their system. And some of them are so insidious that they can even go through the network and go to Mr. Larry's this thing, because you're on the same network, you're on the same TCL network. So they can see all the IP addresses on that network, and they can go to Mr. Larry's network and start even packing, more quality stuff, more quality information. And before you know it, someone will be able to hold you to ransom. When that network was being set up, were proper firewalls set up? So the company just needed a network, and they just set up the network. They set up router everywhere. They said, oh, can you connect? I can connect. Can you see the printer? I can see the printer. Ah, wonderful. We have automated our whole document sharing and this thing process. But there's no firewall. There's no antivirus on systems that are kept up to date. There's no network tracker that is tracking unusual communication over the network. There's nothing like that. And before you know it, someone has gotten in and locked the system. Sometimes they will not even transfer your files. They'll be encrypting all the files in your system. They'll be encrypting all the files in your system. And before you know it, they'll just block the system and say, oh yeah, send us 10 Bitcoin. If you want your information to be released. So security should be side by side with the plan for automation. Security should be done side by side. And that's why you have to, for every solution you're trying to deploy, you try to look for what are the security compliance standards for that particular solution. What are the security compliance standards that have been well researched, and the security bodies have, there's one for web, there's one for servers, there are security compliances everywhere. But it's because you don't care about security, that's why you're not looking for them. And you make sure that you are complying with all those things, especially with the level of threat you can be expecting. Like someone like me, how much threat am I expecting? Maybe someone just enters maybe someone just wants to steal my email, or someone wants to steal my this thing. But imagine a company like GTB. Imagine a company like Dangote. Imagine the kind of damage they can do to those kind of companies. And those might be the type of those might be companies you have to provide services for. If you're a contractor, those might be companies you have to provide services for. And they will say, how did they enter? You know what the client will say? Through their system. That's what they will say. How did this happen? Through their system. So you have to, and there has to be regular audits, because you see, vulnerabilities are continuously discovered. Security checks that are put in place are continually being broken. So people have to listen. That back in the day when we used to develop applications, we used a particular encryption function called MD5 to hash passwords. But some years later, people were able to reverse engineer MD5. So that means if someone can get hold of your database, you thought, oh, I've encrypted the passwords. That person can catch it, can take those passwords and reverse engineer it. So we move to the SHA family, SHA-1, SHA-2, and all those this thing. They started breaking those ones. But now at least there's 255 and 512. Those ones they've not been cryptographically broken yet. So security is an ongoing thing. There are people that are sitting down, and that is what they are studying. They are studying how to break into systems. So there has to be regular security audits. Else, your solution that they once said saved them, they will later say wounded them. And it's not because your solution is not working, but no, your solution was porous. Your solution was an attack vector on their systems. So, how many minutes do I have left, please? Because
yeah,
I don't
thank
like
you, FK. I think we should be wrapping up.
Okay, yeah. So I think I can do a conclusion now.
Yeah, you might want to take the next slide and let's wrap up afterwards.
Okay,
so you can take questions.
Yeah, okay, let's do that. Next slide. Okay, so what I looked at this, they were just basically points from everything I was putting together. So I'm just going to be going through them one by one and just be giving probably one-liners or one statement about them. So what are the success factors for an automated process? Are the project goals and objectives clear and aligned with stakeholder expectations? That's something we have talked about. You have to define the scope, and you have to make sure that the features that you're deploying align with the impact that you want the stakeholders to feel. using that application. Also, what are the critical milestones? And you always check whether you're on track to meet them. What does the client care about in the next 2 months? What do they care about in the next 6 months? What do they care about in the next 1 year on that project? And you make sure that you design your team's expectations around those client expectations. Also, what risks impact the project and how can you mitigate them? Risks can come from lack of communication. Risks can come from certain documents not being provided, some people not being around, some technical facilities not being provided. You have to understand those blockers and you'll be able to communicate them effectively so that you can remove them. Also, is the project team well equipped and motivated to complete their tasks? Very important. Well equipped. Do they have everything that they need? It's not like someone is using laptop that they have been using for the past 5 years and that laptop is dragging and you want them to build you AI. So please equip who you need to equip. Make sure, Kemi Adetiba once talked about how King of Boys almost missed the date that they were supposed to release it just because their computers were all crashing when they are rendering. They had to fly somebody abroad to go and be rendering the movie abroad and be sending it to Nigeria in parts before their screening day. So make sure that you are well equipped. Also, how can I provide communication and collaboration with the team? Definitely, like I said, you have to set up proper communication channels and also different levels of communication, critical distant warnings, what should be communicated through email, what should be this, and make sure you document a lot of communications. Make sure you document a lot of communications, especially with the project. You have a change log. Anything changes in the project, it is recorded. Also, are we staying within project and how can we manage costs more effectively? That one is for you to always optimize. That's why you have your project manager on every project. Are there any scope changes and how will they impact the project? Always be open to scope changes. Always be open to variations from the client. And sometimes some of them are things that it just involves you changing your perspective of implementation, but some of them might come with extra cost. Some of them the client might be having, before there was a time I had this client, I used to argue with him all the time. He would start saying, I want this, I want that. I used to argue with him. Then I realized that, why am I arguing with this guy? Just send him bill. He said he wants this, and then no problem. Okay, you want it to okay, no problem. Invoice, that's the next thing that he's going to see. And we started arguing less, and I started making more money from him. So always leave room for variations and be able to justify variations that will attract extra cost. Also, what feedback have you received from the stakeholders and how can you address it? Don't just go and build in a silo. Don't go and build in silence and come back with a finished product. Always make sure that there is a review cycle with the client where they have given you, they've reviewed the current milestone. Okay, everything is falling in place, everything is in line. If some things are not falling in place, they communicate it, you effect it before you move to the next stage. Don't be in a hurry and just go and create this rigid thing that everybody will now be at their neck, each other's neck at the end of the day. Also, we also talked about the KPIs to measure the project success because that's what you keep working towards. Those KPIs. There are some things that the client wants to be communicated, maybe to be done on their system, and it should not take more than 1 day. Don't make that thing take more than 3 days. So you won't be able to say it's working. It's not working. As far as the client is concerned, it's not working. So the fact that the action actually took place does not matter. It didn't take place within the time frame that the client wanted it to take place. And for as long as the client is concerned, it's not working. The clients like saying that a lot, so get used to it. So also, how can we ensure quality and meet project deliverables? You ensure quality by making sure that you have an expert on your own side that is helping you ensure that the qualities are met. Your project manager will manage your deliverables, definitely. What lessons have we learned so far and how can we apply them moving forward? Always have retrospectives. Always have retrospectives on your project to be able to review the mistakes made and how you can optimize some things. The fact that something is even working does not mean that you cannot review it. Yeah, the fact that something worked, the fact that the process worked, does not mean that you cannot review it. Like I said, Nigerians, we don't like optimization. We just once it's working, it's working. We don't want to say that this thing spends 10 minutes. We spent 10 minutes on this before. How can we make it 5 minutes? We don't like that. Once it's working, it's working. Back then when I was in school, Q used to reach the road inside the bank. Q will go from inside the bank and it will reach the road. They don't care. Yeah, they are working. That's all that matters. Nobody will come and say, this does not make sense. How can we make sure that these people don't have to queue for this long? So you have even a process that is working needs optimization. Always have that at the back of your mind. It makes you smarter. It makes you spend less resources, and it just gives you good optics in the eyes of clients and other stakeholders. Also, how can we ensure that project documentation is up to date? Document as you do the project. Documentation is not an afterthought. Documentation is not, oh yeah, we are done. Okay, yeah, well, who's going to come and write all these things? No, it's going to happen. It's just like waiting till the end of the month before you look at your finances. No, you record your finances as it's happening. I borrowed this person 500K, write it down. I spent also on this, write it down. Not at the end of the month, be like, wait, where did all this money go? How did I? You now start trying to, no. Documentation has to start before the project, has to go on within during the duration of the project, and also has to be completed at the end of the project. You document simultaneously with the project. What contingencies do we have in place for potential disruptions? This one is going to come from experience. This one is going to come from experience. So most of the time when you're working, that's why you always have to have all these retrospectives when you've done a project or when you've actually put out a fire and you do like a post-mortem and try and know, okay, yeah, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? You have to be proactive about things that can go wrong. Be proactive about them. Okay, what if this fails? What if this person leaves our team? What if this person does not appear for the documentation? What if we are not able to set up this meeting in time? You have to always be proactive about those kind of things and make contingency plans for them. Don't be caught on fresh. Don't be caught unawares. Make sure that you are smart enough to proactively assume issues and design mitigations around them. Also, are we leveraging the right tools and technologies to enhance productivity? This has to be validated by an expert. This has to be validated by an expert. Sometimes the tools you are using are not the recent tools. Sometimes you can get better results with some new tools. So always validate with an expert to ensure that you are using the right tools and the right technologies, because sometimes that might be the edge of your competitor. If you're a contractor, that might be the edge of your competitor. Or if you're a client, that might be what will not make you get the best out of the process that you want to automate. So yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah, that's everything from my side. Thank you very much. I hope you have been able to pick one or two things from all the blabbing I've been doing since morning. Over to you, Mr. Larry.
Thank you very much, Fikayo. This has been really, really awesome and intensive. Even for me, I had to be taking notes. Thank you. I'm sure guests have also learned a lot in the course of this webinar. So I think at this point is where we will take some of your questions. And then if we still have more time, we can engage you further on other areas. So Damilola, would you want to drive this session? We would like to take the questions so that we can get some of our guests partake in this webinar. I would like to hear from them.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Fikayo. Your sense of humor is something else. Yeah, it's really been an enlightening session. I've taken lots of notes like Mr. Larry too. And okay, so I'll just dive straight into the question. I think the first question we have here, somebody said, given that system security is crucial, how can we balance security measures to avoid bottlenecks and ensure user compliance without discouraging system use? I don't know if you got that question.
Okay, just say it again so that I
Okay,
can.
so given that system security is crucial, how can we balance security measures to avoid bottlenecks and ensure user compliance without discouraging system use?
Okay, so I want to assume that those bottlenecks mean like hindering automation. Like what as we're trying to comply with security, how do we make sure that we're not slowing down, rather, automation, the implementation of the automation. Am I
I guess
right?
that's it too. Yes.
Yeah. You see, like I always say, security is not an afterthought. It's not that thing you're trying to make happy. No, let's just let's just do security so that they will say we did security. The real cost of security is what you will lose when you don't have it in place. That's the mentality you have to have about security. The real cost of security is what you are going to lose when you don't have it in place. Okay, let me give you an example. You are building your house. You're building your house. And you build yourself a nice bungalow with 4 rooms. And you feel like, okay, what's the next thing? Let me buy a big flat screen TV. You run and go and buy big flat screen TV. 1.5 million. Like I was checking TV. I saw the one I liked was like 1.5 million. Between 1.5 and 2. That's when I was checking. So you buy that. Someone says, your house needs greenery. You do greenery. Fancy POP, fancy lighting. But no fence and no gate. No fence, no gate. You keep buying all these fancy things. Oh, you went to LifeMate to go and buy one expensive furniture. But nobody has attacked you yet. Nobody's attacking you. You're not even living with that mentality that somebody will attack you or someone will try and rob you. So you keep buying all these fancy things in your house. And one day, just because you don't have gates, you don't have a gate, or you have a gate and you bought a $2 lock on that gate, somebody easily breaks it. You didn't spend money on CCTV camera. Somebody easily breaks that lock, enters your house, and packs all those wonderful things that you've done. Will you consider yourself smart? Will you consider the fact that you're trying to make your house homely? And you prioritize that over your house being secure? When that happens, will you consider yourself smart? No. So don't think security is something that you have to cope with. It's not something you have to cope with. Like I said, there are different levels of security. Based on the type of assets you are trying to protect. There are different levels of security. If tech specialists knows that if they steal all these documents, nothing they can do with it. Why would they do it? Then there are some measures that they don't need to implement. But like, if they know that they have some sensitive maybe emails and everything, they need to protect emails and everything. The cybersecurity company I was working for, we used to do cyber protection at the DNS level. So what we do is funny enough, we were using AI before it was cool. So we use AI to study websites. We have sent out all our web crawlers to go and study so many websites, and we have picked patterns from a lot of malicious websites. We've even categorized them. The ones that are categorized under guns and violence, crypto mining, phishing attacks, and everything. We've categorized them. So when you are trying to visit a new website, if you have our system installed on your network, when you are trying to use a new website, as any employee in the company, we will read that website before you even get there. And if it's a malicious website, we're going to block it. If it's a malicious website, we're going to block it. And you have all the controls on what we can block. If you want us to block pornography in your company, you can toggle it on. If you want us to block anything that has to do with betting and gambling, you can toggle it off. So that kind of level is okay for tech specialists. Tech specialist does not need all the there's this particular one that reads packets. It reads internet packets. They don't need that kind of complicated one. That one is too advanced. But if you are the World Bank, if you are GTB, if you are Zenith, you might want to invest in something like that. Because nothing must fall out of place. But it actually doesn't have to. So, like I said, there are different levels of security compliance. And all the levels are affordable for the amount of assets you are trying to protect. Just make sure you are doing. Our problem has been doing them. Our problem has
the
been
compliance.
It has been exactly. So, like I said, it's all a mentality. Don't treat technology is not. Oh, let's keep this. Let's just. The real cost is in what you will lose if you don't have it in place.
Yeah, thank you very much for that.
Mr. Fikayo.
Okay.
There are like loads of questions here.
Wow.
Another question we have is how can project managers effectively handle situations where clients request additional must-have requirements or features midway through a project despite thorough stakeholder engagement? Do I go over it again? It's clear.
Yeah, sure, please. Yeah, one more time.
Okay. So how can project managers effectively handle situations where clients request additional must-haves, requirements, or features midway through a project despite thorough stakeholder engagement?
Okay, so yeah.
Okay, I think you should go first. I would like to take that anyway, but I think you should go first.
That because you are even more into project management than me. But what I'm going to say is, in as much as the client is the one you are trying to please, as a project manager, if you are not in charge, you are not doing project management. They are going to toss you up and down. If you are not in charge, if you are not standing on your ground, and it's going to cascade down on your team. And you see, you are the one in the middle, and you'll be the fall guy. Okay, so let me just give you, okay. So yeah, I think you probably already know that. So how do you enforce it? Number one, let them know ahead of time. Let them always know ahead of time. As you are, before they pay or anything, you already let them know. Someone sent me a project this thing, and it was like 3 months support. I told him, you're not getting 3 months support. You're not getting 3 months support. If you get 3 months support, that will be a different arrangement. He has not paid, we have not signed any contract, we're just still discussing. But he just added it to one of the things. I said, guy, you are not getting 3 months support. You have to be firm as a project manager. And okay, so yeah, sometimes some clients can be nasty. That's why every company at your level should have legal. You should have legal. And your legal person should be able to tell you, advise you what to do when a client wants to bully you on a big scope creep. Okay, if you scope creep and it's going to cost us, maybe the project is 40 million, and you scope creep and it's going to cost us 1 million, you can compromise. Now when you are scope creeping 10 million worth of work or 20 million worth of work, no. So you have to have legal. You have to have legal. Let me tell you, see, lawyer is someone that will be your best friend in a lot of these, because people will want to act funny. You talk with someone for months and they come for a meeting and they start acting brand new, as if you are not the ones you have been talking to all this while. And that's why you have to document. I once had an issue now. Let me give you a personal experience. I was had an issue with this guy. He was trying to build one. I think it was he had this delivery company. He was trying to build one of his delivery companies. And this guy, when he's coming to talk to you, that was around like I think 5 years ago. When he's coming to talk to you, he will beg, he will plead. You guys, he will take you out to eat and everything. Once you guys sign contract like this guy will become the devil. This guy used to check time. He used to say, this thing should be ready by 4 p.m. And 3:45, the guy is already calling me. Hope you know that in the next 15 minutes, I have to see blah, 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 blah. Bros. And he got to a time. He said, this one. He will call EFCC. His lawyer, this thing, and everything. You know what I just did? Because I know that I've been keeping a trail of emails that we've sent. I just sent the email to my lawyer. And my lawyer replied his lawyer. They thought they were the only one that had lawyer. I was inside. Funny enough, I was definitely that time. I was inside and someone came to deliver a suit to me. I say a shoe. So I just carried everything. I just gave it to my lawyer. Probably they thought they wanted to intimidate me and everything. I just called my lawyer and I sent it to him and he sent them reply. I sent them reply like this. Next thing the guy called, we are brothers in Christ. We're not supposed to be arguing or fighting like this. Let us meet. That's how we resolved it. That's how we resolved it. My lawyer was even telling me that their own lawyer, because their own lawyer, well, that he was a student to him. Anyways, so this some people will be nasty. And you can only combat those kind of cases with the law, but make sure that you have all your receipts. We are in the age of receipts now. So make sure you have all your receipts in terms of documenting the communication, the process. You go to clients' places, record things on your phone. Record, you are doing Zoom meeting. You go, sorry, hope you don't mind, we'll record this call. Digital footprints of everything that you guys have agreed on. Make sure. So let me know collect all the time.
Yeah. Thank you very much, FK. I think you've said it all. I just thought to quickly add this, just to make it easy for some of us. So the way I handle situations such as this is first, when you're getting a new project from a client, the first thing you want to do is, or when you are even planning the payment with them, because most times when they give you these projects, they'll come to you and say, how do you want to be paid? So the first thing you do is try as much as possible to break the milestone in such a way that your documentation of what the scope entails will be your first payment milestone. Reason is because most times when you send this scope definition to them or your functional requirement document to say this is what the project entails, you sign your part, they will not sign their parts. The client will just keep it and say, see this one. But the moment you make sure that there is a major milestone attached to it, even if it's not major, even if it's just some 10% or 5% of the payment. The reason why we do this is the moment I can get you to pay me that 5% means that we have locked down scope. Anything you are bringing afterwards goes into variation. So when things like this come up, I'm always happy. So when I saw this question, I was actually happy to receive it because it's something that excites me, even though my technical team don't like to say things like that. It's more like taking them back. So what I do is I surreptitiously engage the clients. I lead them on, oh, this is fantastic. It's lovely. I mean, it's nice to have. Maybe you are the one that wants to pay. Then I'll come back and then cost it and then give you the bill and say, this is how much this costs and this is how long it's going to take us. And this is what is going to affect in the project timeline. When you document all of these things and give to them, you see the way they will calm down. They will now start negotiating with you. You will now have the power, because the power is not just something you just go and hand, like just going there wearing suits that have 6 shoulder pad and hope that they will just like your face. And no, you have to hand it in a very intelligent and professional way, just as FK said. You document all of these things, give it to them, get them to sign off, and then you can now drive your project as you want to. So most important thing is make sure that your scope, you get them to sign off on it, or you tag it with a milestone. Once you deliver on that, any other thing, whether it's nice to have, whether it's must have, accommodate them, cost them, let them know the impact on cost, that's the budget, the impact on the timeline, and then you give it to them and you'll be fine. I hope that is well taken care of, Damilola.
Yes, I
Yeah, do we
think
still have more
I think
questions?
you have done. Yes, we have loads of questions.
Wow.
The next question is, who is responsible for ensuring adequate budgeting and resource allocation for digital transformation projects, especially when business team negotiate costs with the clients and the implementation team later discovers budget inadequacies.
Okay, so let's do this way. So let me take some questions and FK will take some, since we have a lot of them, so that we can quickly fast track this. Okay, good. So my understanding of this question is, one, so there are two sides to this. One is the procuring entity, which is the organization giving the project out, and the other one is the implementation entity, which is the company that is going to execute the project. That's a company like Tech Specialist. So your question is, most times is the business team, maybe the client, that determine how much the cost of the project will be. In fact, most times it's even the clients. They will just fix a cost, just like FK said earlier. They'll just tell you, what we have is 20 million naira. This is what we want to do. We don't care how you want to go do it. So the question is now, who is responsible? What do you do when you are in situations like this? Or when you get when you get a contract like this and you get to your client, your team, and you see that there is budget inadequacies. I think FK have addressed this when he was making his presentation. The first thing you do when you receive a contract like this, because most times when you're getting that contract from experience, you do not really have the overall scope of the project. You know, they will just tell you, oh, we want to build this a procurement system. We just want you to be able to onboard vendors. When they finish onboarding, when they want to do bidding, they should send bid to them. They respond, and then we should be able to attend to their. So what you do to be able to understand the scope of the project is this. You first do more like a stakeholder workshop with them, where you gather them into, in fact, mostly the process owner. You gather them into an environment, make sure the IT team too are there. Also ensure, this is one thing that I do, ensure that decision makers, senior management, even if it is one, can be in that meeting, where they will tell you everything that they want to achieve. Because most time, again, what they put in the document is not what is in their head. This is where you will now be able to properly scope their projects. This is where you will now start seeing some inadequacies in the budget. Now, when you see this is at the very early stage of the project. So when you see this, don't say, we'll go and put it in variation. No, this is not what variation takes. So this is the part where you now sit down with them and tell them, this is what you have told us that you want to do. This is the much that we have seen from what we have, the report of our stakeholder engagement or requirement gathering. And this much that we have seen will cost X, Y, Z. It will cost us this number of team, it will cost us this number of time, and it will cost us this amount of money. At that time is when you can walk away if you have to. So you also still do the same thing, put it in a document, let them see all of these things in black and white. When they feel that they need to negotiate, they negotiate with you. Make sure that when they are negotiating with you again, not just the business people that are there, you know, because business people will always want to bring sales. They will tell you, no problem. We'll explain to Mr. Lanley when we get to the office. Make sure that as you are going for such kind of meeting, you take somebody like FK with you that can tell them, no, this one cannot fly. This one is what we can do during that negotiation, you know, so that you can get something, a budget that will be able to work for you and also be a win-win for you and your client. All right. I
Thank
think
you
we can
very
take the next
much.
question.
Yes. So the next question, FK, I think this is to you. The person said, hello, everybody. Good day, sir. In line with the digital transformation drive, if you are the technical officer or technology consultant in charge of INEC, what can you do differently to automate the voting processes in Nigeria as seen in other developed countries of the world?
Okay. Sorry, I think the very first thing is to make sure that the president is behind you. That's the very first thing. Yeah. Make sure that the government is behind you. Because if the government is not behind you, if you be using technology that we have not discovered, like 2030 technology, it should not be accepted. It will not be accepted. That's one thing. Number two is that your frustration will most likely come from people that are not technologically inclined. That's where a lot of your struggles will come. So how are you reaching that market woman that is still struggling to use a phone like a touchlight phone? She's still trying to figure it out, but she votes. A lot of those people vote. The garage boys, the villagers that are not so used to technology, how are you making sure that they are covered? How are you making sure that they are covered? Because you can do a lot of times, we that we are technology experts, we are too close to the product, we are too close to the technology. We are not feeling the user's pain points. Yeah, my grandmother, I'm sure till she died, she was voting. But she never used, okay, yeah, maybe she used like a touchlight phone before she died. But she always voted. How do you cover those people? How do you cover people that use touchlight phone? How do you make sure that the things that some other people can do on their smartphone, they can do it with SMS? They can get their registration details. They can get any information they need to get, and they can also maybe trigger a process. Or you have places where they can go, because some people is manual process. Once you put computer in front of them like this, they're not doing anything. Some people you have to create a manual interface for them to interact with, to go. The US still uses mails. They still use mails. That's why when Biden wanted to beat Trump, the people that were pushing for Biden to enter, one of the things they first made sure, and the people in the House too, was that the US mailing service was well structured. Then people started going from house to house, educating people on how to fill that voting mail correctly. Because a little slide out of your thumbprint, they cancel it as an invalid vote. You fill it at a different district from where you're supposed to vote. They fill it, they mark it as an invalid vote. And there are politicians counting on those errors to invalidate your votes. So it is not just about technology, my brother. It's not just about technology. It's how you can set up to reach as much people as you can. So that's the first thing. Number two, one thing you will deal with a lot, especially at the point on the day of the election, is going to be power. So do you have backup 1, backup 2, backup 3? Also, is there a technological support staff at every polling booth? Because even these people that they recruit, they've recruited my back then when we do NYSC. Some of my friends, they've recruited them now. You just give them like 1 day training, and they will give them devices. They will go to the polling booth. They don't understand a lot of things that they want to listen. Are you providing a support staff at every polling unit in case there are errors? Because see, people, they don't have time for technology. Their patience with technology is very, very short. It's very, very short. And even you've experienced it. You go to bank, they tell you they say network is down. You start asking for withdrawal slip. Nobody can argue except they fully have a sinister what they call it mission. Nobody can argue the system. But to make this system work, it has to be highly reliable. So forget about you will do the fancy technology that will transmit all the results and everything, all that. But the reliability. Did you provide a VPN, virtual private network, for that? For all those devices, so that they are not clashing with other networks. They are not clashing with, they have their own private network that they're using to send all that information, and it has as much bandwidth as is needed. So that they will not say that transmission of results is hanging. Result has not been. So all those things beyond the technology, what will make the technology run, all the devices they will use, backup 1, backup 2, backup 3, and support, technological support, but it's going to be super expensive to drive all those things. And also your reach. That's the first thing I mentioned. How are you reaching those people that don't really have familiarity with technology? Because you'll be surprised how many they are. And funny enough, they form a huge amount of the voters. They form a huge population of they form a huge part of the voting population. Those people that are not really, really close to technology. So I don't know if you've been able to pick any useful points, but the automation is not the only problem. It's the reach, the reliability, and the support.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, FK. Yeah, Damilola, do we have any other question left on
Yes,
the...
we have another
Wow.
question.
Okay,
This is
let's
to you,
quickly run through
FK
them
also.
so we can...
Um,
Okay, okay.
Good afternoon, sir. In regards to the Trojan virus, how can an organization protect all their computers or users from being attacked?
Like I said, in the company I worked for, we provide a network level security system. So it operates at the network level. And there are some that operate at the operating system level. For example, the person that brought flash drive from outside, slotted it in, and clicked it. A network level security is not going to prevent that because nothing is being transferred over the wire yet. And some viruses, they are not going to use the network. They are just going to lock your system. They're just going to lock that system. So you need something that operates at the operating system level. There are different compliances. I've not worked there for a year, so all those things are beginning to be to leave my head. But there are a lot of compliance levels, and there are a lot of applications. If you go Okta and all those kind of companies, they supply those kind of security systems that you can subscribe to as a SaaS, at a SaaS level. We were a SaaS. We were a SaaS rather. We were a SaaS when I was there, and you can plug in. What you do is that you change your DNS IP to ours. You change your DNS IP because we have a private DNS, and every request, because every request, every outbound request, every request that goes out of your company will first ping the DNS server to resolve the IP address. So what we do is that on our DNS server, we'll have already checked that particular address that you're going to see if it's a malicious one. I will block it. So there are systems that operate at your operating system level, and someone can also monitor everything from your network, can monitor everything. There are systems where you can put like some checks. They call them heuristics. Sorry. So some heuristic systems where they monitor the pattern, the web pattern in your organization. So they kind of see that, okay, yeah, this firm, they don't consume more than 20 gig every month. They don't consume more than 20 gig every month. These are the sites that they typically visit, all the Microsoft Word site, Excel site, business site, and everything. It gathers all those information maybe after 3 months. So if it suddenly realizes that somebody is pinging one particular strange endpoint, or that the data usage has suddenly jumped by 30 gig, and it's not like they added new terminals, it starts to flag those requests. It starts to send alerts to the network administrator that, hey, there is this thing in your camp. There's also something that we call shadow IT. Shadow IT can also be a problem in an organization where an organization has a set of software that they use. They have a set of software that they use that they approve. Then somebody just brings one software from outside that is unapproved by the organization, and they start using it within a certain place. That thing is called shadow IT. Softwares, systems that the IT department is eclipsed from. So there are systems that detect those shadow IT, those kind of applications also, because someone can just bring some weird softwares and be crypto mining in your organization. So everything, if you want to discover those kind of stuff, it starts from looking at, okay, what are the security compliances for a network company? What are the security compliances for an IT company, a company that runs this, a company that runs that? You start seeing all those things, and they start leading you to tools that you can use to protect yourself at the OS level, tools that you can use to protect yourself at the operating system level. There are even tools that you use to protect yourself at the physical server level, physical tools. Like I said, there are tools that can even search each packet to check, because some people use some buffer overflow attacks like that, where they will just if you have software that are not developed with best practices, they can take advantage of those kind of softwares, and they can use it to run extra code within the memory space of your operating system, application, or whatever, and they will catch something. So those are the kind of so that's how you can. There are different levels of security that you can implement based on what you are protecting. Yeah. Operating system level, network level, and the rest.
Thank you very much, FK. So Dami, I think we'll just take the last question and then we can wrap. Yeah?
Okay, so
yeah, thank you.
Somebody said, what are the best practices for managing culture and fostering a culture of innovation during digital transformation?
So I think I'll just take that. And I would like to approach it from when you're driving the culture of innovation in your organization. I think it starts from the very top. So when you're looking at driving any innovative concept in any organization, whether it's be it technology, be it non-tech, the first or most important aspect of it is getting the stakeholder senior management buy-in. Senior management are, there are stakeholders, there are different stakeholders. So, but the senior management stakeholders are the most important when you're driving any change within any organization. And digital transformation or any other change is not different. So you first get their buy-in to sell that concept to them, ensure that they are ready to support you. The moment you are giving them any concept, whether digital transfer, any concept at all, you see them dragging their feet or they are not quite comfortable with it, there is every likelihood that that is not going to work, no matter how brilliant that concept is. So the first place to start from is from the top. Get the top management buy-in, then get project champion among the top management. So what Okwa, I said Okwa, FK explained earlier is very, very important when we are implementing projects. So what we do is, when approaching any organization, the first thing we want to do is we first want to look for project champion. This could be IT guys, this could be process owner, people who know. We just identify these guys, take them out for one very expensive lunch, have good time with them, then ask them the information around who are the drivers of innovation within your organization. These guys are the ones that will point you to, go and talk to Madam Damilola. Anything about innovation in the office, talk to Madam. She would give you all her support. Beautiful. Who else can we talk to in senior management? They'll give us all this information. Then we would now schedule the meeting with these guys. And when we schedule the meeting with these guys, we get the buy-in, we will still ask them, who among your organization do you think can be our project champion, can really help us drive this concept, top down? They will also mention, if you are lucky, it may be the guys that we already identified, or they will mention people that they feel they are comfortable with. So this stakeholder management is very, very important for you to first get. When you get that, then you can now trickle down to the floor staff running or that will be utilizing the system. And just as also FK mentioned, most times when it's technology, it always receives some level of resistance from these guys, because what you are coming to do sometimes is even to block loopholes that people that are enriching people, loopholes that people they are so comfortable with that they have been using over the years. And some, in all honesty, is just the mindset of change. People usually, when change is coming like that, people are always not so comfortable in accepting. So we identify all of these things, and then we try in our own best way to deal with them. There are some that we have to make sure that we use this senior management to achieve, and there are some that we may have to go out of our way to convince these users to adopt this innovation. And once that happens, you will now start seeing certain adoption going down, as they are using your technology and all that. Lastly, when we finish deploying any solution at all to our client, we try as much as possible from our own best practice to give them 3 to 6 months free support. You may look at this and say, this is value add is that's a lot of cost to the organization. But to us, it's a way for us to be able to record success on that project, because we've realized that most times when we deploy this project and we hand over to these guys, even after giving them extensive training, after a couple of months, they abandon your system. So what we do is we position somebody there who would be there to give them first-hand support or first-level support. It will be their go-to guy for anything that they need on that application or that system. That person is also helping us to drive the change management that we're talking about here. So for the next 3 months or 6 months, this person will be doing more like hand-holding, adoption of the new system. And gradually, after 6 months, they already get used to it. We can then give them a bill for 1 year support. So these are what we do here that works for us. You can look at all of these and see which would best work for your client or for your user. Okay, I think this is where we may need to wrap up. Damiola, I'm sorry, we may not be able to take all your questions. So what we would do is you can take all these questions, or better still, provide the info email so that your guests can still send in questions, and we will be glad to respond to them via email. And if you also have any project that you are working on that you are experiencing some bottleneck, maybe in managing your stakeholders or technical issues and all that, feel free to push them to us. We'll be glad to offer you free consultancy services on that for being part of this program. So we really thank you for your time, and we may need to be wrapping up right now. Be looking at, be watching our space for more content on this presentation. I'm sure Damiola will upload these on our YouTube channel, and she will share the link to get to that on our social media handle. And very soon, in the space of 2 months thereabout, you should be expecting another brilliant webinar from us on similar topics like this, particularly on digital transformation, because we realize that a lot of talk going on out there about digital transformation. A lot of organizations, particularly government organizations, are already seeing the importance of digital transformation in their organization. So they're setting up teams that can help them drive these concepts. So one of the things that we have also seen with this team is that they need the support of external consultants like ourselves to be able to give them advice on how best to be able to capture some of these user needs. So we are there for you. You can reach out to us via any of our handles or go to our website to be able to contact us for any support in this area. We'll be glad to assist you. Thank you once again, FK, for this, for making our time to be here despite your busy schedule, and for the lecture. This is more like a lecture. It's not a webinar, and I'm sure our audience really enjoyed this short time spent with you.
I'm glad.
All right. So your last word before we wrap up, FK.
Okay. I would just say, if you are on the side of the client, or you're on the side of the contractor or the consultant, mutual respect is important, and that's what will lead to success at the end of the day. As the client, you have to respect the boundaries of the project, and as the contractor, the consultant also, you have to make sure that you're executing everything that is within scope, and make sure that you're giving quality, because that will go ahead of you. Your quality is what is going to go ahead of you, and is going to maintain your continuity in this business. So as much as we're talking about these things, and most of the hills might be on the client side, know that it's a two-way street. Both parties have to be locked in, and both parties have to respect each other to give each other the best. So that's my final take.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fikayo and Mr. Larry. This has really been an interesting and enlightening session. Thank you to our participants, everybody that joined in today's webinar. Thank you for being part of it. Thank you for your questions. And thank you for listening in. For those that are, interested in the recording, you can go to our YouTube channel. It will be uploaded in the next 24 hours. You can search Tech Specialist Consulting Limited. And for those that still have questions that were not, addressed in this webinar, you can send them to our email address, and would respond to them. The email is info@techspecialistlimited.com. If you go to the chat session, you see all the details there. I already put all the details there. And with that, we have come to the end of today's webinar. Thank you, and would reach out to you subsequently for, our next webinar, and also follow us on all our social media pages where there are more details. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.